G'day friends and fans, welcome to Dave Talks Off Ukraine War Update for the 15th of March 2026. I'm your host, the author, David Applegate. Now as the war continues, the war of words continues, and I will continue to bring unbiased coverage from both sides of the war. And as you can see, again, though Russia has hammered Ukraine, they haven't hit many positions. Predominantly, they have, again, focused on Kiev and the surrounding area, with only a few strikes in Zaporozhye. Now, there were some intercepts as the missiles passed over Pobolka. That's about it. And for the rest of the war, there has been artillery and other exchanges across the border. There has been continued offensive operations at Kupiansk, renewed operations towards Bovol, which makes sense. If you capture the town here, you'll eventually take all of this. Lyman, of course, continues to evade Russia, and west of Silvesk, again, the Russians continue to press, and Ukraine continues to hold them back. Some, what you would call, rearrangement of the deck chairs outside of Novorossiysk without any advance. Again, Russians haven't been able to take a town of significance along the front, but they are filling in the gaps. I guess they're getting ready for their offensive. These are, again, nothing here on the frozen front. Kromorskaya remains also frozen, though Russia is pressing on Ivaninka from the west. Some gains north of River Yi, but again, nothing of significance has fallen. Russia continues to try. Now they're approaching Vilny. They have started operations at Novy Donbass. They have advanced to the River Hill north. They have advanced outside, but not into these towns. And parts of Rodonyzy still remain under Ukrainian control. Only light attacks at Irfnini, though there is clashes here in the south. Still bits of the S area under Ukrainian control. No significant advance as we go through. No significant advance. The Russians have only taken a little bit of extra territory here. That's about it. So Ukraine has managed to hit one new target. Well, that's yesterday. And of course, the problem is Ukraine often leaves markers up for days to make it look like there's more activity than there was. And part of the Russian strategy is to shift away from fixed emplacement to mobile missiles. Now, you can see this is a well-used launch point, which makes it vulnerable to Ukrainian drone attacks. Russia is just as guilty of Ukraine is falling into patterns. Now, this says illustration, right? This is probably actually a training field. That's why there are well-worn patterns and a big open area. They're probably firing. And this looks like this looks like water, so this looks like actually anti-ship operations. But they're firing tube-launching Kinzhals. So you can see it has precision rocket control, and it is quite fast once it gets going. And wait a minute. That's a Russian drone, that's a drone, not a Kinzhal. That was a Kinzhal. There's tube launchers. Most of it, there. That is anti-ship operations. Probably training on the Black Sea or Caspian. Isn't it amazing? They show you what it used to look like, but when you look at the town, well, look at the explosion again. Oops, wrong one. Come on. Yeah. It is not operations. Well, Russia used a Kinzhal, but you caught a drone hitting the remnants. Now, if you look at the Ukrainian town, wait, maybe it's back here. Someone actually drove out of that? Oh, they drove through it, yeah. Oh, that would be... look, that's lucky. Yeah, look at the Ukrainian town. Most of it, the factories, yeah. It's not... Yeah. Here, that's... Yeah. The shockwave is... Yeah. There's the missile hitting. There, look at the town. Look how devastated most of that town is. See, they are hitting targets. Yeah, they are hitting houses. There's no doubt about it. But they're hitting evacuated industrial areas in the combat zone. Everybody can clutch their pearls and say, all I'm pointing out is that both sides do this, right? Russia doesn't care what you think. So don't scream at me because Russia doesn't listen to me. They don't listen to you. So stop taking your frustrations out on me. If you don't like the news that I present. Right? Now, in response to the number of drones fired by each side, Ukraine has replaced its interceptor with a new fixed-wing interceptor. As I said before, they need a longer-range interceptor, but this ain't it. This is a short-range, low-speed interceptor. Again, it is not for missiles, it's for drones. And Ukraine, of course, is trying to insert itself into the Iran-Iraq war. So, US-Iran war. Though Iraq is getting increasingly involved because of drone attacks. But I don't think, and as Trump has said, you're the last person in the world who should be getting involved in other wars. Fix your own backyard. Now, one of the reasons why they're using the fixed-wing drone is if the mission fails, it can be recovered. Unlike the helicopter drone, which has this is designed to safely belly land. The helicopter drone tips over. It goes off. Let's be honest. So we have image of the alleged attack on Zaporozhye, which it's alleged, and they claim to have photos and videos, but what do we see? We see a large structure, shed, and a truck on fire. And yeah, this is probably a small enterprise, probably a drone assembly point, probably near residential areas, or the fire spread, or drone intercepted fell, but they always claim their homes, and then later turns out it wasn't a home. Remember this place? You should remember. Look at that. They're now admitting it's a post office. People may not remember. I remember. You could do image searches and you'll find this common looking white building in many photos, often called a residence and saying residence on fire. It is actually a post office on fire. Why the post office? At least 3 things come to mind. Who delivers all the draft notices? If draft notices get burnt, draftees don't know they're drafted, so Ukraine has to now go out and find them. So that's taking them time and money and reducing the number of available men to the battlefield. Makes sense to blow up the post office. 2, the post office also delivers secret communiques between operational areas. Another reason to blow up post offices. 3, it's freaking funny. Hitler used the post offices as well as secret communications. But it's both irony and historic for Russia to blow up Ukrainian post offices. They did it. Right? It was the post office that was the outpost in Kursk for the Germans. So, hilarity ensures for those who believe in the irony and history of the region. For everybody else, it's just, oh no, my draft letter got burnt by the Russians. There's a lot of Ukrainians on the front going, I'm fighting you because you didn't blow up my draft notice. Now, Ukraine has delivered, a missile strike, according to the Russians, on Belgrade. However, they forgot if this was a Russian-controlled site, why isn't it marked? Or, if Russia's so full of disinformation, why mention it? Actually, Ukrainian news, not just Pravda, but Ukiform does mention it. So, again, this is why I use multiple sources, not just Ukraine news, and often I use the Russian news so I don't have to go to the behind the firewall, pay the New York Times for the same stories. Now, Zelensky offered to help with interceptors. Normally, I would say that's a good idea. Only Ukraine needs those interceptors in Ukraine. And if they're so good, why do we keep hearing, right, about explosions? Donald Trump has said we wanted to make a deal, but then you don't want to make a deal. A couple of months ago, you were telling us all you wanted to make a deal. So America said, okay, we're coming over. You want to make a deal. We sit down. And what have you done? You've told us now, you told NBC that you don't want to make a deal. And the shock is because Putin wants to make a deal. Now Putin's deal was offered to Ukraine, and Zelensky said no. So what deal do you want to make? The deal, Zelensky thinks that every deal has to be his deal, his way, every way. That is not happening in any universe. In any universe, do you walk into a car lot with the money they want and say, I'm going to give you half the money for this car, and if I don't, I'm going to occupy this spot until you do. Now, you can keep coming back every day. You can get arrested. Every time you're released, you can keep coming back. But does not mean your stubbornness does not make you right. Unfortunately, liberals seem to think obstinance is the solution to every problem. No, it isn't. It's the same thing. Oh, if we have to accept the Muslims because waves and waves of them will keep coming. No. Hungary proved that long ago that bad neighbours make good fences. So, no. If you think, we have to accept the refugees, then why can't Ukraine accept the Russian refugees? They're just undocumented refugees, everybody. See, sooner or later, right, you're either going to have to sit down and reconcile your beliefs to say, yes, there are borders, but there's no borders. There's only one race, human race. Then why are you opposing Russia in Ukraine? You cannot accept... This is the problem. You cannot have two beliefs and accept them both. You have to have unless, of course, you say the reason why we don't accept Russia is because it's a different situation to, say, the mass migration of Sardinia. Oh, here's the thing. Yes, the mass migration of Sardinians and other peoples in the Bronze Age, which settled the Levant and the true origins of the Gazans. And then you go, oh, I see. So they are colonizers. All of them. There isn't a single person in the Middle East who isn't. Right? You either got the Arabs from the south who colonized the north, or the Greeks and the Romans, or who colonized the Levant not once, not twice, but thrice over the same period of time. You had the Greeks fighting the Greeks, although they didn't call themselves the Greeks. The Greeks, just like the Semites, whenever they created a new city, they suddenly became citizens of that new city. And so around and around it goes in a big merry-go-round. And that eventually, just got to accept the fact that the only way you're going to fix Ukraine is to say to the Ukrainian parliament, we do not accept Zelensky as the sole voice of Ukraine. You have to put it to a vote. Right? They either have to vote to accept the Russian deal, or accept that Russia is going to force it down your throat, and that no matter how much you resist, there's no one, right? England can stand for 100 years with shoulder to shoulder with Ukraine, but without Western money and Western support from the rest of the world, Russia can defeat Ukraine and England and a few other countries. Yep, true, they cannot defeat all of Europe, and yet 31 countries who banded together cannot stop the Russian army now. Why? Because the US knows Russia is just playing with you, that they can increase the amount of damage done, which is why we have a Russia and China proxying the war with Iran to drag that out to inflict damage on us for Ukraine. So do not think that your stubborn resilience, the resistance, is anything other than pathetic virtue signaling. Zelensky doesn't lose anything. He does not lose his land, he does not lose his life, and he does not lose his wealth. Except for the wealth that Russia's blown up, of course. But he has stolen millions over the years, and everybody turns a blind eye to it. Everybody knows Zelensky's a crook. Nobody wants to take him out and say, I'm sorry, we're not supporting you. We're sick of funding you, right? We gave you millions for Ukraine's war, and what are you doing? You're prolonging the war to steal more money. You're not doing this for Ukraine, you're doing it for yourself. And Ukrainians, unfortunately, what he's done is bought off Parliament, has them under the fear. He has the military under his thumb. That's the problem, isn't it, with blind loyalty. You have people willing to fight for Ukraine, but Zelensky takes it as they're fighting for me, and the Ukrainians aren't realizing that their problem, their enemy, is the monkey on their back. Because they're not fighting to liberate their homes, they're fighting on the threat that their homes are going to fall to Russia. But that threat didn't exist if Zelensky signed the deal. And then it's just so hard to convince Ukrainian supporters because they don't care. They don't care about Ukraine. They want the argument. They want to be right. They want to own the Chuds. They want to rub it into the Russian. They want to hurt the Russians, or they want to just hurt the Republicans. We've seen these drones before. These are the new, they're trigger launched. It's got a weird configuration. It's a combination of quadcopter and horizontal fixed wing. And they're Russian interceptors. And they take out Ukrainian drones. And irony is, those are mostly, they are fire and forget anti-drone systems. First unveiled in July 25. Since then, this is actually the second or third generation of them. I'm not sure which. I know I showed you the video before. Alright. Now, Ukraine uses the bigger version of this as a observation platform for artillery on the front. Both sides are targeting trucks, tanks, etc. with drones. Russia's not doing this alone but primarily, yes, the majority of troops are Russian. They do have some North Koreans. They haven't had any new in a long time. But right now, China is in a pickle. They don't know what to do. They thought they could have a public neutral stance in order to maintain their trade with Europe and beyond. They do sell drone parts by the bucket load to Europe. We all know the majority of those drones are being dismantled and sent to Ukraine, where they reassemble them. Now, it makes sense in a way that you obscure the origin of the drones, but you're just turning around and saying, "Oh, look what Ukraine's made," and it's just extra work China knows what you're doing. Everybody knows what you're doing. Russia knows what you're doing. Russia's doing the same. There's Chinese and American drones components in both sides. Right? Toy manufacturers around the world right now are almost exclusively all making drones right now. There's no one else buying that many drones. Right? The Americans make the Lucas exclusively. But Ukraine and Russia, no, they are buying lots of those small drone motors. They are buying them by the pallet per hourly. Entire ships are going just to Europe full of drones. And they are from Rotterdam every day. 1 or 2 containers are pulled off, and there are over 100,000 containers in Rotterdam. Right? And probably 60,000 of them are drone parts. Well, that's a bit of exaggeration, but you know what I mean? There's no way, right? Ukraine has all that copper and all that plastic and with no other industry, right? They do not have enough. They don't have the electronics industry to make those remotes, right? There's no way they are making these drones exclusively in Ukraine. No, they're assembling. But we've gotten to the point where the language means nothing to people anymore. But you'll hear so often, these drones from Russia actually contain Chinese parts. Yeah, but so does Ukraine. Right? Now, the British, their boats, those drone boats are going to actually copies, right? These remember the drone boats that Ukraine is using? Well, it turns out they're also from British. They're British, but they're copies of Iranian drone boats. So, and these Iranian drone boats, these were actually not remote originally. They were manned originally, these little, and they date back to the X-boat in World War II. So, a lot of things are not original. But the Iranians right now, it looks like they're going back from remote to suicide drone boats to attack shipping. The whole threat now, is mines. Will either Ukraine or Russia mine this area of... the problem is when you mine the Black Sea, they do. The Black Sea is a big whirlpool, okay? I'm not sure which way it goes. I think it's... right, but you put a drone in the water and it'll eventually choppy along. So you put a sea mine in the water, it's not going to stay. And even if they're anchored, they seem to find a way to spread like a cancer. So hopefully, no, we do not see sea mines popping up in the Black Sea. Thank you. I don't care which side. I don't care how desperate Ukraine is. Desperation does... 2 wrongs don't make a right. And all these people who claim to love Ukraine, good news, everybody. You could join the Ukrainian army. Go ahead. Be my guest. Be their guest. But if you're going to watch my videos, maybe watch it all. And you might learn something. So, thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please support the channel. You can support me on Ko-Fi, Patreon, buy my books, buy my merch. All my links are in the link tree. See you in the next video, and bye for now.